Today, I don't want to talk to software engineers. I want to talk to people who are maybe working in the same field, but their role is not in engineering. For example, designers, HRs, managers, maybe some people who don't work with software on a daily basis, maybe even the parents of software engineers that want to understand more about their kids' profession. I'm going to take a widely used concept from programming and try to explain it in very simple terms with pictures, and we'll see how it's gonna go. Maybe if you're a complete beginner in software engineering, it might be useful for you, but overall, this is not aimed for programmers. So apologies for oversimplification. But let's talk about version control today. Nowadays, software is so huge. All the video editors, text editors, operating systems, your mobile phone, they're so complex that they cannot be written by one person. They're written by so many people, and they have to coordinate their work somehow, because a program is basically a set of files with instructions. And when a lot of people are working on this set of file, they have to share the state, they have to share their work, they have to discuss their work somehow. So how do they do that? Well, they use version control. Version control allows you to track the versions of your software and the changes that were made and by whom they were made. So when you open your favorite app and you see that the color of the background was changed, if you have access to the version control system of that organization, you might know exactly which developer did the change and what was included in this change, perhaps maybe just changing a color. It might be actually surprising that sometimes changing a color involves changing hundreds of files for seemingly no reason. So imagine you have a grocery list. This is a point in time, and all you have in your grocery list is apples. Then you add bananas. You can have a timeline between those two versions. Let's call it version 1 and version 2. And you can clearly see that what happened was that bananas were added. If next you decide that you do not want bananas, you only want apples and grapes, it creates a new version of your grocery list. And this time it's very clear that grapes were added, but what happened to the bananas? Well, we know that bananas were removed. And that is basically what we use version control for. We want to see exactly what each version contained at some point in time, and we want to see what kind of changes were added or removed from current version or one of the previous versions. As you can see, our versions right now are version 1, version 2, and version 3, which is good for releases, but not when we have hundreds of versions and we need to revert to some particular version or take a look at what happened before. This introduces us to the idea of a commit. This is a commit. It's a point in time that we decided to record for future purposes. Let's say you had apples. That was a commit. And then you're adding, well, let's say tomatoes to your changes and you haven't made a commit yet, this does not count as version. So if you add something else to your list later, tomatoes, let's say pears, and then you make a commit at this point, then this version won't exist. You will only have this version and this version available to you in the history. That's why commits are very important. We want each commit to represent a meaningful change. You want to keep your commits as small as possible, but not too small, because otherwise you won't be able to find anything in the history. So they should be very reasonably sized. This is all very interesting, but it does not seem necessary when you're working with your own grocery list. The idea of version control really shines when there are more people working on the same project. And now again, for simplicity, we're only going to be talking about one file that contains a grocery list, but of course in reality there are thousands of files and thousands of people working on them. So we still have this main timeline. We're gonna call it main. And it has some initial version. Let's say initial version would be apples again. We're gonna have two participants. We're gonna have Alice and Bob. So what Alice does is she takes the version of the main branch and creates her own branch, so her own set of changes. At this moment, it completely copies the state in the main branch, so it only contains apples. Then Alice makes a change. She adds grapes to her list. And then she merges it back to the main branch. So now her changes are available to anybody who has access to the main branch. And Bob copies the main branch to his newly created branch. Now he has apples and grapes, but Bob doesn't like grapes, so he replaces them with bananas. As you remember, we remove the grapes and we add the bananas. This is the set of changes. And then Bob merges them back into the main branch. And now main branch has apples and bananas instead of apples and grapes as before. This way, people can make changes in their own branches and then merge them into the main branch to have the same set of changes available for everybody. Can anybody just merge their changes into the main branch? Of course not. To do that, you have to create a pull request or a merge request. The naming differs based on different tools used, but the idea is you make a proposition of your changes and other people can review it, maybe leave some comments and decide if they agree with it or not. They can request changes, they can approve your changes, or they can ask you to discard your whole thing altogether, although that is considered rude and almost never happens. The most important thing about working together on the same branch is to merge often. Imagine if Alice added grapes to her own branch, but didn't merge it back to the main branch that's available to everybody. Then Bob, when he wanted to add bananas to the list, he would have checked out this version, the same version that Alice did, and then his branch would have only had apples in it. And he would have added the bananas and merged it back. Now Alice cannot simply merge her changes into the branch. Does it mean that we include both grapes and bananas? Or does it mean that we remove the grapes and keep the bananas? Or does it mean that we remove the bananas and keep the grapes? Those kind of decisions have to be made by a human, so they cannot be automatically resolved. There is a fairly complicated system in Git that helps to resolve some of the conflicts automatically, but in this case we changed the same line, the second line in the list, so a human decision is required. So Alice has two choices. She can either rebase, which means that her entry point would now be here, or she can simply merge the main branch into her branch and continue from that. So she merges the branch there, she resolves the conflict on her own, and she decides that we want to include everything. We want apples, we want grapes, and we want bananas. And now her changes can go back to the main branch. What Alice can also possibly do is force push her changes into the main branch. But this is something that is really not advisable because force push rewrites the history. In this scenario, we see exactly what happened, who tried to add what changes were made, what decisions were made. But if Alice force pushes her changes, then the only part of timeline that's going to exist is what Alice knew. All of this part will disappear, so we don't force push. One thing that's important to remember that when two people are working in different branches, it is always better when they merge often or they update their branches often. So we're trying to avoid the conflict as much as possible. And another change that is very important is local versus remote branches. So we're going to take a look at Alice's PC. Then we're going to take a look at Alice's branch. And we're going to have the main branch. We have some state in the main branch. Going to be apples again. What Alice does is she checks out this version. She copies it to her own PC. She creates her own branch on her PC. This is a local branch. Locally, she adds grapes, and then she pushes her changes to Alice's branch. So Alice's branch will be created based on the version on her PC, so it will also have the initial state that corresponds to the main branch. And then it'll have this change, so it'll have apples and grapes. Which is great. Alice continues working, and in this iteration, she adds bananas. She commits the change, but she forgot to push it to her remote branch. And now we have a situation. If Alice's PC is caught on fire, then this commit does not exist anymore. The reason is because this branch was local. It only existed on Alice's PC. This branch is remote. It existed in the version control system that she uses. So when Alice logs in from another computer, she will only have access to this commit. This part will be forever lost. It won't be a problem when you only added bananas. It might be a problem when you worked on multiple files and you don't remember exactly what you did. That's why the rule of thumb is you push to your remote branch as often as possible. Every time you make a meaningful commit, it goes to your remote branch. Every time you make a commit on your local, it should go to your remote branch. And you only merge to the main branch when the changes are working changes. So in case of software, it should be a working software. And in case of a list, it should be a finished version of a list. That was it about the version control system. It was very difficult to explain without using specific terms or without going too deep into the details. So I hope it's still clear. I hope somebody will find it useful. I'll see you in the next one.